What if I told you that the financial system most people trust today isn't the system God designed to make you prosper? Right now, in America alone, millions of people are working harder than ever, yet still living paycheck to paycheck. Debt is at an all-time high. Credit cards are maxed out. Stress is normal. And financial freedom feels unreachable. But here's what most people don't realize. The real solution was never another budgeting app. It was never skipping coffee. And it was never working 3 jobs until you burn out. The real solution was written 3,000 years ago by the wealthiest king who ever lived. King Solomon didn't just have riches. He had a revelation, and he recorded that wisdom in one place. The Book of Proverbs, not as motivational quotes, not as religious poetry, but as financial instructions. The same principles that built Solomon's empire are still available to you today. And in this video, you're about to uncover 10 biblical wealth keys. That doesn't just help you escape debt. They show you how to secure your future God's way. Now, before we break down these 10 biblical wealth keys, I want you to understand something important. The wisdom you're about to hear is not modern theory. It's not internet advice. And it's not guesswork. These principles come from the same book that guided the wealthiest king in human history. Solomon didn't just talk about money. He mastered it. And the keys he left behind were never meant for kings alone. They were meant for God's people. But before we go any further, I want to know who I'm speaking to. Type in the comments where you're watching from. Whether it's the United States, Ecuador, the UK, Canada, or anywhere else in the world. Drop your country below. Because this wisdom is not limited by borders. Now let's unlock. Key number 1. Wisdom comes before wealth. Proverbs 4 verse 7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom." Notice what Solomon didn't say. He didn't say money is the principal thing. He didn't say success is the principal thing. He said wisdom comes first. Most people reverse God's order. They chase money first and hope wisdom will somehow catch up later. But Solomon became wealthy because he chased wisdom before wealth. When God asked Solomon what he wanted, he didn't ask for gold, power, or fame. He asked for understanding. And God rewarded that wisdom with wealth, honor, and peace. Here's the lesson. Money without wisdom disappears. Wisdom with time multiplies. That's why many people increase their income, but never change their financial condition. They earn more, but still live stressed. They make more, but still stay broke. Because income is not the problem. Decisions are. Biblical wealth starts in your thinking, before it ever shows up in your bank account. If you don't change how you think about money, you will always struggle with how you handle it. Wisdom teaches you when to spend, when to save, when to wait, when to invest, when to say no. Money without wisdom is dangerous. Wisdom without money is patient. But wisdom with money builds futures. Key 2. Debt is a slave system. Proverbs 22 verse 7 says, "The borrower is a servant to the lender." Debt doesn't just cost you money. It costs you freedom. Every payment you owe is a decision already made for you. You don't choose where that money goes. Your creditor does. Debt limits your options. Debt delays your dreams. Debt controls your future. Solomon understood something powerful. Wealth is not about how much you earn. It's about how much control you have. You can make good money and still live like a servant if your income belongs to lenders. Many people today don't own their paycheck. Their paycheck owns them. Solomon warned against this system because debt creates dependency, and dependency removes flexibility. When your money is tied up in payments, you can't move freely, you can't give freely, and you can't build freely. Biblical wealth is about freedom, not just finance. God's system reduces dependence and increases control. That's why Scripture doesn't glorify debt. It warns about it, not to shame you, but to protect you. Freedom is part of God's design for your finances. Key 3. Discipline builds security. Proverbs 13 verse 11 says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." Fast money looks exciting, but slow money lasts longer. Solomon knew that shortcuts skip structure, and anything that skips structure eventually collapses. That's why lottery winners often go broke. That's why sudden success often leads to sudden stress. God's system is not rushed. It is rooted. Wealth is not built in moments. It's built in habits. Small, disciplined actions, done consistently, create big financial outcomes over time. Saving a little, spending wisely, avoiding impulsive choices, staying patient. These don't look impressive, but they build security. Discipline protects your future. When motivation fades, Solomon taught that consistency beats excitement. Because excitement spends fast, discipline builds slowly, and slow growth lasts. Biblical wealth is not loud. It is stable. Key 4. Your words shape your wealth. Proverbs 18 verse 21 says, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue." Most people don't realize this, but their financial condition is often connected to their confession, not just their choices. Solomon understood that words are not neutral. They create direction. Many believers pray for provision, but speak poverty every day. They say things like, "I'll always struggle. Money never lasts with me. I'm just not good with finances." Those words don't just describe a situation. They reinforce it. Your mouth is either planting seeds or poisoning the ground. Solomon warned that careless speech leads to destruction because words shape mindset, and mindset shapes behavior. If you constantly speak lack, you will make decisions from fear. If you speak wisdom and faith, you begin to act with clarity and restraint. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let negativity become your identity. Biblical wealth requires alignment between what you believe, what you speak, and what you do. Change your language, and your financial direction begins to change. Key 5. Planning is a blessing, not a lack of faith. Proverbs 21 verse 5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance." Many people confuse faith with spontaneity. They think planning means they don't trust God. But Solomon taught the opposite. Faith is not disorganization. Faith is stewardship. Solomon didn't just pray for provision. He prepared systems. He planned cities. He organized resources. He managed supply chains. That's why his wealth lasted. When money has no plan, it leaks. Unplanned spending creates regret. Unplanned income disappears. Planning doesn't restrict blessing. It directs it. A plan tells your money where to go, instead of wondering where it went. Biblical planning includes knowing your expenses, setting boundaries, preparing for the future, avoiding emotional spending. Solomon shows us that diligence attracts abundance. Because structure sustains blessing, God supplies, but wisdom manages. Key 6. Generosity creates flow, not lack. Proverbs 11 verse 25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Solomon understood something most people miss. Money is designed to flow. When money stops moving in obedience, it begins to stagnate. Generosity is not loss. It is circulation. God never intended wealth to terminate on one person. That's why hoarding leads to fear, but giving leads to peace. Solomon gave extravagantly, not to impress people, but to honor God. And every time he released resources, God replenished them. Biblical generosity is not reckless. It is purposeful. It's not about giving everything away. It's about keeping your heart free from money. When you give consistently, you remind money that it serves you. You don't serve it. Generosity breaks the grip of fear and keeps wealth flowing. God blesses hands that are open, not clenched. Key 7. Association determines elevation. Proverbs 13 verse 20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Solomon understood something most people ignore. Your environment shapes your outcomes. You don't rise only by what you know. You rise by who you walk with. If everyone around you normalizes debt, reckless spending, and poor decisions, those behaviors start to feel acceptable. But when you surround yourself with wisdom, discipline becomes easier. Solomon didn't build his empire alone. He surrounded himself with advisors, builders, and planners. Wisdom multiplies in the right environment. Your conversations influence your choices. Your choices influence your finances. Your finances influence your future. If you want a different financial life, you may need a different financial circle. Growth isn't just personal, it's relational. Key 8. Patience protects what wisdom builds. Proverbs 16 verse 32 says, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." Many people don't lose money because they're unwise. They lose money because they're impatient. They rush decisions. They chase quick wins. They react emotionally. Solomon taught that self-control is more powerful than strength. Wealth grows in seasons, not seconds. Impatience leads to bad investments, unnecessary purchases, risky decisions. Patience allows wisdom to work. God's system doesn't rush results. It rewards consistency. Slow growth lasts longer than fast money. Key 9. The fear of God brings security. Proverbs 10 verse 22 says, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it." Solomon knew something money alone can't provide. Peace. Wealth without God brings pressure. Wealth with God brings stability. The fear of the Lord isn't fear of punishment. It's respect for God's order. When you honor God with your decisions, your wealth carries peace, not stress. Many people gain money, but lose sleep. Biblical wealth protects both your finances and your peace. God's blessing doesn't steal your rest. It sustains it. Key 10. Legacy is the real measure of wealth. Proverbs 13 verse 22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." Solomon didn't think in months. He thought in generations. Biblical wealth is not just about comfort today. It's about continuity tomorrow. Debt ends with you. Wisdom outlives you. True wealth is what remains. After you're gone, your money can disappear, but your values can live on. Solomon built systems so future generations could thrive. Your legacy isn't just what you leave behind. It's what you leave inside others.